Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for our colleagues for being here today. As you've heard from both sides of the aisle, there is a laundry list of red tape coming out of your agencies that have negatively impacted Main Street businesses in my home district of Iowa, family farmers, and our communities across the board. Your regulatory cyclone that this administration has led has cost Americans $1.4 trillion. And just to put that into perspective, that's the entire GDP of Saudi Arabia and then some, just in the cost it's had ultimately to consumers. Luckily, the American people have spoken, and they've made it very clear that they are done with this type of regulatory regime that ultimately hurts people in my district and across the country. And while I remain committed to serving on behalf of all my constituents, both those on Main Street and in my rural communities, I think it's important that we start having a conversation about what the future looks like. First and foremost, we are looking for a financial leadership out of Washington that puts citizens first, promoting a competitive and diverse financial system through tailoring and flexibility, fostering innovation through dynamic systems based on thoughtful digital assets, as well as artificial intelligence legislation, evidence-based regulatory reforms based on a cost-benefit analysis, something that I think that this team has failed to do time and time again. And finally, the growth of capital formation, particularly in rural areas and small-town innovators across this country. Now, it's been only a few days since the American people made their voice heard and delivered a mandate to their government. The American people want new leadership that clearly puts them first. Can I get a confirmation from each of you that you will halt your disastrous, over-regulatory, burdensome process, particularly in the final hours of your tenure here, before President Biden leaves office? Will you confirm with that? Mr. Hassoun.
We are going to follow the APA.
So you'll continue to make more regulations in your waning hours?
No. We'll do our
Thank you.
job. We're going to do our job, but we're not going to do anything that's going to be.
Chairman Harper.
So we have several things that we must do. We must pass an annual performance plan. We also must pass our annual budget. We do have one rulemaking underway. There are negotiations going on across the agency and all three board offices to reach a consensus on that where possible.
We'll hold you to that, but I appreciate the candor. Chairman Gruenberg.
Congressman, we have a number of pending rulemakings. On some of them, we've extended the comment period. We don't think any of them will be ready for action before the end of the president's term.
Then at that point, I would ask that you hold them until the new president comes in. Vice Chairman Barr.
Thank you, Congressman. We have three major rulemakings on Basel III capital rules, on liquidity, and on long-term debt on an interagency basis. And as I've indicated, I expect to work with my new colleagues at the OCC and the FDIC in the coming year on those measures to get their policy input, their perspectives.
Chairman Barr, I appreciate that. I hope that you will have heard what the American people have said overwhelmingly, and in the dying light of your time here, that you will rein in your overregulation, particularly coming from your leadership, or lack thereof in many cases. You've all engaged in an anti-crypto crusade during your time here, and I think it has sent a chilling factor to many institutions, particularly our digital assets and innovation, that they can't do business here in the United States. Do you each recognize that you have been a primary indicator in why, over the past 4 years, we've seen 14% of the industry leave the United States at a loss of more than $3 billion? Would you each accept some culpability in that? Your non-answer is answer enough for many of us here. The next generation of fintech may very well be in Singapore or the United Kingdom, because you have helped make the United States a second-tier place for digital assets and innovation to find home, and that is disappointing. Vice Chair Barr, your actions, I believe, have stifled competition and diversity in our banking system. And as a state with many small lenders, both credit unions, banking, and other, I believe that you need to do an examination on the cost that your regulations have done to the American people. Has your office provided an analysis of how much it has cost small businesses, particularly our small lenders, with your regulation?
I'm not aware of any such study, nor do I believe there's any such effect.
I would strongly disagree, and we've seen trillions of dollars in costs as a result of it. Just come to Iowa and ask my local bankers and credit unions. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I yield back.